this is amazing. It was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostyn and Cam Water.
It's motorsport, but not as you know it. Test yourself and your everyday road car. Safe, affordable, but most of all, fun. And all you need is your daily driver. Experience the thrill of a sprint day. Race against the clock at a hill climb. Or test your reflexes with an auto test. It takes just 3 simple steps to get started. Get on the start line. Search Motorsport Australia Daily Driver today.
Fishies in a row. They're here to make a point and to do Eddie proud. They fan out in the background as they come down to turn 1 for the first time. It all looks pretty good, 2 by 2. We'll stop the camera here. Oh, Eddie would be proud, mate. That was awesome run around turn 1. But, oi! Contact with the fishies!
He's made it through. It doesn't look like Angus has made it, but Thomas Freeman's made it through, and Angus is going to suffer the crowd coming through there to be able to turn his car around.
I love riding. It's a real social thing. There's a great bond between riders.
Every weekend I look forward to getting out there. It's a freedom like no other.
Riding to work is a great way to start the day.
Shannon's insure all types of road bikes, not just classics. They offer features riders really want. It's why they're one of Australia's leading motorcycle insurance providers.
Whatever you ride, whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride.
ride with Shannon's.
Call 134646 for a quote.
And they are off. It was a good start from Dylan de Bono. I think Phil Vella got a great start there in the background as well. You can see already cars going 5, 6 wide as they're trying to find any semblance of space. They come into T1. So far we've got 2, 3 wide as they snake down. There's Michael Culture that's got around Dylan de Bono. A couple of cars going wide there. Was that a bit of contact in the back? Scott Pocock caught up in that, I think, there, buddy. But it's Michael Cullaghar's got past, so Dylan...
light is coming out and we're about to get going, and we have a green light and a very slow start for the 86s, but they are moving out there on the grid. It would be very interesting to see exactly which driver can capitalise on this first lap. Just go through the grid. Look like Jamie Christensen had a really awesome start to get ahead of Dylan de Bono, and Doug Gowage also jumped his teammate as well, so unfortunately Dylan stalled the car a little bit more than what he preferred. But
Weekend in, weekend out, Motorsport Australia officials are making waves. From waving flags, waving cars through pit lane, or responding to a wave for help. Wave hello to new lifelong friends. Who knows, you might just make waves around the world. Ride the first wave. Search Motorsport Australia officials today.
Still great classes of car, and if you are able to, if you're coming up the ranks on iRacing through the licenses, it's a fantastic sort of laneway into prototype driving, going from that GT3 up through the prototype classes. As the safety car pulls in, we get ready to go green as we come up towards the line. Edwards, Hasler, who's going to get the jump down to turn 1, or will any of the fishies, any of the piranhas in behind them, assault them down towards
green and they're off.
First lap? Let's go here.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannon's.
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover,
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be
Shannon's.
Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
This is amazing. It was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostyn and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanek and Jamie Dyson just absolutely drove away from us. Hayden trying to go around the outside. This is where he could have just sent it up the inside, but he hasn't committed, which is fair enough. It's very scary out there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if we get the good line. Dodds just absolute thinker, but it's a really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome back to SRWtv. Tonight, we're back in the world of open wheelers for round 2 of season 2 of the Shannon Formula 3 Nationals. We've got an action-packed sprint round on offer tonight at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course layout. It's Cowie, your average sim racer here, together with Hamish Munro, who's once again on the mic and behind the cameras covering tonight's action. It will be interesting to see how the cars handle the little banking around this track, but I'm looking forward to it tonight, buddy. You said no rain on the horizon, but it does look a little overcast.
Yeah, it's looking overcast. I've got a new name now, apparently, according to you, Cowie, Hamish Munro, going forward. No, good night of racing, of course. Last week out at Portimao, absolutely delivered. Phenomenal racing. So glad that new track delivered us some great racing, and hopefully we can see it a lot more often in future, not only throughout this year, but in years to come as well. But yeah, Indianapolis, of course, it's a well-known race circuit, one of the most known race circuits in the world. Who can forget the 2006 US Grand Prix around this track when only 6 cars ended up making it to the grid because of a tyre wear issue with Michelin and Bridgestone were able to race because they had Firestone, who made the IndyCar tyres, so they had the development to actually have the tyres work. But we're not going to face any issues like that tonight, so don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. Open wheelers around this track. No, it's not IndyCar, it's Formula 3 SF24 action around the track here tonight. This is the first time we're actually coming here as well, Cowie. So it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers handle this track. It can be quite difficult. Fast-paced, a lot of good passing zones, a lot of good heavy braking zones as well for passing opportunities. Possibly a safety car too, but I don't know how likely it is we're actually going to get that because it is actually quite open in that infield. But it is a difficult circuit, and it's going to be one that will test the drivers nice and early here in this championship after the trials and tribulations of last week out at Portimao, where they were trying to learn the track as they went along.
I thought it was going to be interesting to see how they maybe handle the standing start on the oval as well. We saw some trouble at Daytona and Charlotte with some of the race starts there, but it does look pretty flat. I don't know if it's going to have too much of an issue on tonight's race, but coming into quali, again, it's a big field tonight, so it's going to be all important to try and get as far up the grid as you can. And we've seen, just about every week we see it. It's not tenths that separate these guys; it's hundreds and even thousands.
Yeah, we know that the times are going to be incredibly tight around this track. There is really no room for error around here. I mean, some of the areas where we can see some action happening into turn 1, any drivers coming through there under brakes, big compression lock can cause dramas. Through the chicane out at turn 5 and 6, we could see drivers get a little bit of overlap, a little bit overzealous as well, and then cause some proper incidents happening. Then down at turn 7 as well, the very hard braking into the tight left can cause some dramas. And then also into the second to last corner as you kind of come around the bowl and into a hard braking zone. See a lot of drivers come through there. The car gets underweighted and it can just spin round very easily, and other drivers in behind then get caught out. Or you can sometimes have it where a driver turns in on the driver on the inside and they get spun round and absolute chaos ensues. So it could be interesting to see how they go here tonight. I don't know, though, if it's going to offer up as much of a challenge as a track that they wouldn't have ever had an opportunity to drive, like Portimao last time out.
Well, again, yeah, well, this is a new track for the F3s, never raced here. So, even the Superlight here, this will be a new track for a lot of the drivers. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are people that are still sort of, finding their feet as qualifying, is about to start. So, but, again, we've seen so far of the first couple of one race, I should say, that you know, the car maybe does have a tendency to go a little bit light in the rear when you sort of push that mid-corner speed. So, interesting to see if that creates an issue tonight. And as you said, you were talking about, you think it's wide open, maybe no safety cars. Does that mean a 0 for you tonight, Hamish?
Oh, I don't know if I'll go the donut. I think we might have one. I think there could be, if something happens lap 1, then that could definitely be an option for that to happen. I don't know if it's going to be a track that's going to lend itself well to just the one happening out there. We'll have to wait and see, though. See how the drivers react and how they are able to get around this place, how nervous they might be, or how willing they are to actually push the limits of this track.
Well, I think neither of us got it right last week, so I'm going to go with 2. Of course, out there in YouTube land, this is your chance to put in your prediction for tonight's race. Doesn't look like we're going to get rain at the moment. I'm sure that the drivers are probably pleased that that's the fact. But we do love a little bit of carnage here at SRWtv. And as it is one of the new series that does have the full weather component in iRacing, you know, I suppose every week we want it to be pissing down.
We do. We do. Everyone knows that we love when there's a piss up on track in terms of rain, and that's what we're going to be hoping for at some point this season. But I don't think Indy's really going to throw us up anything wild in terms of weather here tonight. But of course, it's the next round of the F1 Shadow Series as well here tonight, as Miami is going to be happening this weekend for the F1. So we know last time, obviously, big weather out at Fuji prior to the proper season start. So there's 2 championships on offer here tonight, 2 lots of championship points for drivers who are fighting for not only the regular season of the Formula 3 Nationals, but also the Formula 1 Shadow Series as well. So keep that in mind tonight, where drivers finish and where they end up as well in terms of championship standings for that F1 Shadow Series, as well as our regular season running.
Yeah, look, I don't know if this track is a pure representation of the Miami street circuit.
I said we should have gone to Long Beach, but they wanted it for Monaco.
Fair enough, yeah, that's fair enough. I can't remember what the track they said was called in Monaco.
The American
Long Beach.
But I think Monaco, I mean, you could have just gone to Belle Isle or Chicago.
I suppose, look, they have a fountain, so, you know.
Yeah. I mean, well, we could have gone to Homestead if you wanted a roval. Homestead. That's at least in Miami. But
Well,
Indy's
Barber.
good. It's a good track. Oh, Barber. Nah. Not street tracky enough.
Would it be good in these cars?
No.
Yeah,
I think it would, but I don't think it matches Miami enough. This is at least nice and flat. It's flat like a street circuit, is the old brickyard. But at the moment, it's Daniel Byrne is setting the pace nice and early here. He's got the first purple sector, but his teammate goes purple in the second. As they start coming through out of the infield section and up towards the bowl once again. So the times, I mean, we don't really have any idea of what the times are going to be here tonight. And who could be up to pace until we get through qualifying and further into the proceedings and towards the races here tonight, of course. 2 races, sprint round action, 20 and 40 minute. That reverse top 10. We already saw that throw up a new winner last time out. Alan Dawson, debutant winner. Only the 5th driver to ever do it in the F3. So maybe we'll see some magic happen again here tonight.
Well, it's close, you know, early on after round 1. I think there's David Gallo leads. Was that 9 points over Dylan DeBono? Dawson's a further 8 points back, so it's all pretty close. So we were hoping it would be after round 1. But yeah, look, a great drive from Dawson and an awesome fuel save to get him home. Callan Hodgkinson, he's got the early honours in the Pro-Am class over Hutto, who missed out on the glory in his 100th race here at SRW.
Yeah, I don't know how upset he was about that, or if he was even upset about it, but he'll get over it.
Yeah, well, there was no comments on the notes he sent us through about tonight's race. So, knowing Hutto, that's in the past now, and he's focusing on tonight.
Well, maybe he can get a win in 101.
Well, look, it's a big field out there, so look, if you're slightly off in this qualifying, you might find yourself bloody 20 cars back. So, Hutto and Hodgkinson and those other guys in that Pro-Am field, they could easily find a few AMs in front of them. So got to be careful. I found out last night, what I sort of focused on my race pace rather than qualifying. I didn't even make the top 10.
Well, I've just noticed a comment here from Ty Delaney as well, saying, sorry I'm not here, boys, spotting for Logie, but good luck. We know where your allegiances lie then, Ty. Instead of hanging out with us, cutting some laps around Indy, you'd rather sit in your chair and spot for who I assume is someone from Fishy. Maybe Dykey, yeah.
I think a couple of the Fishy boys have got into the Pro Logitech Pro Series. So
It would have probably would have been
series.
Yeah, probably would have been Dykey, and then who else? I mean,
well, Dykey's been in there, but I know that Ty's dad was getting pretty close. I had a great battle with him on Sunday too. Thoroughly enjoyed racing Blake and having him behind me.
You guys had a great battle.
Laps.
It was phenomenal to see. I wonder actually how the Enduro is going to go Sunday as well, as the confirmation should be coming out shortly that we're going to be racing on Sunday, not Monday, since Scops is now moved.
We are.
Yeah.
I believe that the decision's been made. I don't know if I'm going to make it yet.
Well, I mean, it's still up in the air, but it's looking like a 70 to 30 chance that we're going to be racing Sunday. Be interesting to see how the drivers go around Red Bull with the pro drivers out there, of course, the pro-Ms like yourself out there as well.
The pace was solid, man. Like the top 15 in that pro-am Tuesday night. It really comes down to if you're on that night. I think like I had a great week at Sonoma, and then Red Bull Ring, which is a track I like, but I didn't think I was super quick at. There was some really quick drivers, and the pace was probably half a second or a second quicker than I thought it was going to be. So it's really heating up. A couple of big names sort of come in that are those guys that are right on the cusp of pro and pro-am. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, making life hard for me, man. I've got to push really, really hard to keep up with them.
It'll be interesting how Blake Warboys goes. Obviously, he was just out of this world on Sunday. How he goes under enduro conditions, and if he walks away with it, or if someone, if a Darren Lobb comes back, if they bring the challenge to him going forward. But qualifying at the moment, as we stand, it is Daniel Byrne who has set the pace so far here in qualifying with a 1:10.174, 1:18.174. I do apologise. Headed Dylan DeBono, Marcus Knitska, Dougie Gowans, and David Gallo make up the 5. And then Benjamin Brooks and Hodgkinson and Gerard leading the front for the pro-ams, and then Caldwell and Schmalenberg for the amateurs. And then Roberts gets into 10, actually. He separates the amateurs. Kinzel, Philho underneath, Schmalenberg, Ratcliffe, Rosanita, Noble, Tesuero, King, Catakazinos, Hudson, and then this man here, the hometown hero of Sean Benici, local US driver at Indianapolis, has a big spin as we talk about him. He's currently P20 on the road.
Curve there.
Yep.
Ball trying to use all the track limits there, and he maybe tried to use a little bit too much. It's interesting though, looking at this here, it looks, compared to the Formula 3, I think, it's only really taking one lap for these guys to get it up to pace, or, maybe sort of that out lap and then another lap. We're finding on lap 3 and onwards is where the fast times are starting to come down. So maybe a lap earlier than the F3s used to be. But again, I mean, we're still going to see these guys trying to push their limits. And that's the second time we've seen that there. I don't know if there was contact or not, but I think that is going to be one of the troublesome corners, because it's a double apex, but, I know in the supercar you sort of end up sort of trying to break deep and run it wide and then come round, but as we can see, it was contact there,
Sure.
so that may be a problem for those involved there.
We just had
ear out on race control's got to say about that.
We just had Sean in the chat saying, just had to show me spin, lol. We had to. We brought it into existence by getting you on screen and mentioning your name. That was how it works.
There is this phenomenon called the commentator's curse. It has reared its ugly head on several occasions.
Yeah, Cowie doesn't like mentioning drivers because he has a curse on him at the moment.
A couple of big ones that have happened.
Phillip Island.
With me opening my traps, so beware if I'm talking about you on track out there, drivers.
Yeah, Sean, just hope that Cowie doesn't mention your name mid-race, because there might be a crasher coming. I'll have to wait and see. Not all the drivers out there. Nick Schmalenberg, Nick Carroll, Jake Edwards, Alan Dawson yet to join the circuit. Obviously, Ty Delaney's not going to be racing tonight. Martin Walker, the only driver yet to set a time here in qualifying at this stage.
There was a couple of rear grid starts I heard, but I think it happened just as I was introducing tonight's evening, so I missed what which drivers that race control said. So I think there maybe is a couple of those cars that we're not actually going to see come out in quali because they've been told to start at the back.
Well, Nick Carroll can't start at the back because this is his first race, so he definitely doesn't have a rear of grid. Possibly Schmalenberg. I mean, Dawson definitely didn't make it back on fuel last week because we know this because he told us. Brett Del Santo's not here, so we know that he's going to need a rear grid when he joins back.
Yep.
And then, as you mentioned, Jamie Davis in the chat as well.
So he had a rear grid from last week, did he? And
yeah, because he didn't make it back on fuel, so he'll still have it whenever he races next. He probably thinks, oh, I'm not going to race this week because I have a rear of grid, and then I'll come back and be able to qualify next week. Well, no. It's whenever you race next. That's when the penalty gets applied. The penalty
Jamie
waits
Davis.
for you.
So Jamie Davis in the chat there saying, hi, Hamish and Cam, good call tonight. Hope the racing is as clean as it was last night. I would say, Jamie, up front there, it's always clean. No. Look, it was pretty clean racing all the way through the pack. We did an 80-minute enduro around Red Bull Ring with no safety cars, so that says something.
I was actually quite surprised that there wasn't any, to be honest with you. I thought there would have been a couple of bingles at turn 1 and turn 3 at least.
Pushing the tyres. So I think more than a few of us last night had done some practice on double stinting, getting an extra 10 or 15 laps out of the tyres beyond, that second fuel stop. Because last night in the Enduro, we only had 2 sets of tyres for the entire race, and you effectively had to make 2 pit stops. So one of those stops was for fuel and nothing else. So, yeah, thought it may be, I know I was trying to save my tyres and still be, as quick as I could. And thought I had a good setup for that. And the other guys, I thought they'd fall away a little bit, and I suppose I had a chance, and then I binned it when I was starting to catch up. But these things happen. Here, if we look at qualifying at the moment, it looks like De Bono has pipped Byrne as well as Gallo and Grotch. So Brandon Grotch, he's one of the new names you said before, Hamish.
Yeah, he races on the Friday nights in IMSA, being a real dominant force in that series, and moved over to the F3s for this season alongside the IMSA series, so we'll see how he does in the old F3. Can confirm it was Jake Edwards, Nick Schmalenberg and Alan Dawson who have copped rear of grid penalties from last week. Nick Carroll has just not gone out and done a lap time yet, but he is able to as Callum Hodgson spins it round towards the entry of the bowl.
This is promising because the guys are pushing hard, and there's a few moments there where the car starting to get away from them in places. And it was one of my fears of coming from the F3 to the Superlight was that these cars would be easier to drive. That was the initial assessment, but the F3 had a lot of life in the rear. You stepped on it and it stepped out. It made it an exciting car to drive. So, it was one of the things I was hoping that we weren't going to lose in coming over to this car. Now, weather, it's more than worth it, Hamish. That one Fuji race was just amazing. We can't wait for that to happen in the regular season. So I think it's a great move. But so far, when I see the rear end step out on these cars, I'm okay. That's actually a good sign because it means the drivers are finding where the limit is, and you can actually, cook it, pushing a little bit too hard. It's good to see.
Yeah, they're trying to really push that grip limit, which we've been talking about. That's what you got to do to be able to find the pace in this car. One thing I just want to mention here, though, I've noticed Keegan Colwell is running not only an Ayrton Senna livery on his car, he's actually running his helmet and his race suit. Yeah. How do we feel about that, Cowie, knowing Keegan's history in this car?
Well, he's putting it's a bit of a target, I reckon, running a Senna livery. I know a few guys out there in the world have got their rigs painted with
It's not just the livery,
colours.
though. It's the full kit. He's got the race suit and the helmet as well. I think it's quite an interesting comparison he's making to himself by running that, I'm going to be honest.
There's plenty of hero worship, and it's always allowed, and, Senna was one of the greats and always will be. I remember watching the Top Gear special where Hamilton got in and actually got to have a drive of, the V12 Senna machine, McLaren machine, and said it was ridiculously, just couldn't fathom what it would have been like to drive it on the limit.
So I know, I think I know why Keegan's actually running it tonight is because this is the 30th anniversary of Ayrton Senna's death today.
There you go.
At Imola. So if that's the reason, Keegan, I hope that is the reason. But yeah, obviously, Ayrton is arguably the greatest Formula One driver of all time in terms of pure ability. I think driving ability, he was I mean, you could argue Schumacher. I think Hamilton was all car, to be honest.
You don't end up with things like, you know, the lap of the gods named after you and stuff
Yeah,
like that without having some level of talent.
and like the fact that whenever you went to qualifying at Monaco, everyone was at qualifying to see Senna's lap. He drove cars around their issues. He didn't, you know, and he tried to improve cars. So, yeah, I think arguably, I mean, the top three. I mean, personally, to me, top three Formula One drivers of all time in terms of pure talent is Jim Clark, Ayrton Senna, and Michael Schumacher. You can order them however you want. I do think that Ayrton and Schumacher are, I mean, all three of them are probably tied for number one, arguably.
I always remember I put Mansell in the same vein as those guys, because for a guy that, you know, only really got 1 year of a competitive car and took it by the horns and, you know, won the championship, then went to Indy and won that championship too, you know, that I always put him, I think he was one of those guys that was such a polarizing figure in the actual field that's why he only got a couple little chances, but geez, he took them by the horns.
Well, our starting grid for tonight's race is as follows. Dylan De Bono will start pole position for Velocity SimLab ahead of Brandon Grotch for Frog Leap Juice Racing. David Gallo, Doug Gowans then make up the second row of the grid ahead of Daniel Byrne and Marcus Knitska on the third row. Benjamin Brook will start alongside amateur pole sitter Keegan Caldwell out of P8 on the road with Dave Roberts in P9 and Callan Hodgkinson starting P10 on the road, P1 for the Pro-Ams. Matty Gerard and Shane Ratcliffe will then start on the sixth row of the grid in behind, as they then move down to Mitch Noble and Sam Katakizinos ahead of Brad Hudson, who makes up the top 15. Timothy Schmalenberg will then start ahead of Dean Singovich and Matt Tessuera on the 8th grid of the road, with Chow, Kinzel, Filho and Callum Rosanita lining up alongside each other to make up the top 20. Nathan Verney and Greg Johnson will then line up alongside in behind, with Josh King and Kevin O'Neill in behind them, making up P23 and P24 on the road here tonight. Sean Benici, the local boy, the American, will start alongside Danny Matisic, with Martin Walker and Peter Morris in behind them. Ty Delaney will not start this race, and Nick Carroll will have a question mark over. Alan Dawson, Nick Schmalenberg, Jake Edwards have their rear of grids for not making it back to the pit lane last week at the end of the race as they ran out of fuel. But that's the starting grid. Let's get ready to go racing for the first time ever in an F3 around Indianapolis, and I'm excited, Cowie. This is going to be a good one in these cars.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. Again, as I said, it's a new track for all the drivers out there. So, you know, anytime you get a track that people aren't familiar with, it tends to compress the field, and you'll see those bolters, the guy that's, you know, that's spent a bit of extra time practicing, you know, and suddenly you'll find himself right in the thick of things, or maybe it's a track that just, you know, agrees with your style. I know I had that at Sonoma a week or so back. And they're the exciting things when you start to see those mid-packers suddenly, you know, fighting at the front of their class. You know, that's what makes it so exciting. And big fields, 30-plus cars, gotta love it, man.
Well, it's going to be a great opportunity to go racing. Nick Carroll has joined the grid, so we'll have 32 race starters as long as Johnson, Katakizinos, Hodgkinson, Gallo, Grotch, and De Bono make the start line as well. So 32 drivers around this Indianapolis circuit. Going to be a wild one. Going to be, could be chaos early doors with the amount of drivers on track. Cowie, 30 seconds to go. De Bono and Hodgson need to get onto the grid if they hope to start this one. De Bono's there. Hodgson's yet to join. They need to do it as soon as possible so they can go racing. Hodgson's there. Let's go racing around Indianapolis once the timer is up and the lights go up to go out for the race here tonight. De Bono versus Grotch.
Blackout OPR there. Jamie Dyke saying go Tiffy's the greatest or the best.
Oh, Jamie Davis,
and
yeah.
was that Bubbles, Schumacher, Senna, Max?
Yeah, that's Keegan
Caldwell. Yeah, Max is starting to make a count for himself, I think. But it is the Shannon's Formula 3 Season 2, Round 2 about to start. We get clean. There's a couple of puffs of smoke in the middle there. Already starting to go wide around the outside. I couldn't see who that was, but looks like everyone's got clear though. We've got 5 wide as they come down to T1. Gotta love to see that movement jostling in the mid-pack there. But the front runners have got through clean. It is De Bono ahead of Gallo and Grotch, Byrne, Gowans, Knitska so far, but they're side by side. Nice move there from Gowans, I think.
I think
And
Caldwell's
Crotch
just
as well
dropped
got up
out.
the inside of Gallo. Yeah.
I think Caldwell's actually dropped out of the session. He's dropped down to the back of the order. But it is DeBono who leads the way at the moment as they go. Almost 3 wide into the left. Hard braking zone. Good up passing opportunity. Very easy though to lose the car through there. The twists and turns of Indianapolis out towards the bowl as they come through.
Gallo and Konitska, they're having a right hell battle at it early on. Saw them both, all three of them side by side there at some point. Though it looks like Burns, Konitska's just fallen off the back a little bit as he's got Brooke behind him, going deep under brakes. Oh no, is that Noble?
Yep.
In the Shannon's SRW machine with a spin, and it looks like we've got another one deep that's had a moment there. Is that Benjamin Brook?
That's Konitska.
Marcus Konitska. What's happened there?
We'll get the replay up.
P6.
We'll get it up and check out how it happened. So this was down into the sort of second to last corner. Under brakes.
Oh, it's contact.
Yep.
I did see him come in there heavy under brakes with a big deep lunge and didn't see the contact, however. Konitska will be on the radio, and I'm sure that race control will be right on that one because, unfortunately, you can't get away with it. Look at that. That car's damaged. He's going to have to bring it in.
And this was afterwards down at turn 1. Brooke and Rosanita into one.
Oh, Rosanita going in deep.
Oh, big curb strike.
Oh, and Brooke has suffered, probably the culprit for the first one, but Rosanita going in hot there. But you could see the difference. Rosanita got on the brake there and looped his car to avoid hitting the car in front of him. So, yeah, unfortunately, Brooke, that's going to drop him well down the field, and he'll have to pit because he won't be able to drive that car for very long.
Hey, look, Kelly, we got FVs back once again.
It does look like a Formula V, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so
a little bit
big
of extra
wing on
aero.
the front. Oh, he's got to give some room there. Noble coming through. Oh, contact up
losing out.
There's Sinkovic.
Oh.
That's Sinkovic. Dawson got caught up in that as well. Oh, it's happening big and plenty in the mid-pack here, buddy. We don't need rain to create chaos.
No, we don't, and it is looking more and more likely that maybe we could see a safety car here tonight just based on how feisty the field is looking at the moment as DeBono and Grotch battle it out for the lead of this race with Gowans hungry in behind trying to help out his teammate in P1 at the moment.
Oh, a bit wide there from Grotch, but he's trying to hold that inside line. DeBono's not giving it up, and it's actually given Gowans a little bit of a run. I mean, this is the thing, mate. Grotch might find out here. He's up against a couple of teams in this race here, and we'll see there. Look at that, DeBono making space for his teammate to get through. So, really interesting. I love when I can see these team strategies playing, and now the Carlins Motorsports boys are going to play a double team on Grotch if they can too.
As they make their way around back onto the bowl, the team play is heavy at the moment. Grotch, who would normally be used to his teammate Scotty Hasler being out on track with him in IMSA, is all on his lonesome up the front here as his other teammates are towards the back of the field, including Brooke and Benici. As he comes round to start this next lap, it is Gowans who leads the way, the grandpa up the front of the field with DeBono in behind. Grotch P3 at the moment, and then Daniel Byrne in P4 with David Gallo making up the top 5. 3 teams make up the top 5 on the road, including Velocity Sim Labs, Carlins Motorsport, and Frog Leap Juice Racing at the moment as Byrne tries to get this done on Grotch into turn 1. Nice move down the inside. Grotch lets him have it. He's ready to fight another day at this point in time.
Great seeing how strong the toe is down that main front straight at Indianapolis. So, you know, one of the things the guys have said that this car's a little bit underpowered compared to the old F3, but that also means that when you get the toe in play, it really has a big factor. You can see here, is that Grotch making a play back at Byrne up the inside. Going to try and stay side by side here because he'll have the honour for the next corner, but we've got to switch back. So it's interesting that it doesn't, not just over. If you make it up the inside there down the straight, you know, you've got to still work at it for the next few corners. And you can see there letting him through on the one before. And now he's going to have the inside run here for the back part of the lap. Oh.
We'll see how he can do here on the next lap on the road, of course. It is at the moment Byrne against Grotch.
Oh.
Gallo's lurking in the background as well as a couple more boys getting dragged in.
Too. There might be a car that's broken down and suffering out there. Bit of radio chatter, race control. Okay, he's
We'll get.
He's talking about an incident, no further action.
Yep, we'll get all the graphics back up on screen, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, we had a little bit of a technical issue. We're getting that all fixed right now.
Exciting start to this race, though. There's movement around everywhere. The draft is really bringing the player into account. So you can see that, you know, Gowans and DeBono have skipped ahead as that battle happened. So that might have been an absolutely cracker, smart strategy from DeBono to let his teammate through, because now the two of them are working together and putting distance on the field.
Yeah, they're starting to move forward. Dawson, Brooke, Caldwell, Ross and Ida look to be out of this race very early doors. Unfortunately for Dawson, I mean, he's up there in the top end of the championship after winning last week. And he's already out of this race nice and early on, but it is Gowans who leads the way. Keegan Caldwell is back out on track, and he's had a spin in the mid part of the circuit. Can't read that properly. Car 80 drive-through penalty, so that will be going to Benjamin Brook for the contact with, I believe it was Marcus Knitska on lap 1 down into the second last corner. So maybe a little bit of karma for him having that contact with Rosanita.
That's right. The incident with Rosanita, he's had to fix that car, and now he's going to get a drive-through penalty, which is probably putting a lap down or very close to it. But no, some nice movement in the field at the moment. It's Sam Katakazinis who's the biggest mover up the front. He is up 8 positions, running in P6 at the moment. So a great run from Sam there, and really putting himself up the pointy end. Another big mover is Timothy Schmalenberg. He's up 6, running in P10 at the moment. And then we've got a couple of big movers, the guys that started at the back of the field, Nick Schmalenberg and Nick Carroll. The two Nicks up 15 and 12 positions. Behind them, Martin Walker also up 8. So some big movers. Our big losers at the moment, Keegan Caldwell, Benjamin Brook and Callum Rosanita. Down positions, Alan Dawson. I think he made it into the session. He had that rear grid, and he got caught up at that moment, so he's finding himself a lap down. So, you know, he's still up a couple of positions, even though he's in 29th. But our race winner last week not making it around to start, back to the pits, so he ended up with a rear grid start for the race.
So would you say that Schmalenberg and Carroll have nicked a heap of positions in this race, Cowie?
I would think that that's an apt comment there, and perfect timing, buddy.
Well, I was going to pull it out straight after, but then you mentioned the drivers who lost positions. I'm like, oh, well, I hope this doesn't go on for too long so we can get that in there. But it was all right. It didn't feel out of place at all. Schmalenberg, though, as you mentioned, up 15 spots. P17 on the road at the moment. Of course, had the rear of grid penalty from last week. He's done well here to avoid some of the carnage. Getting himself inside the top 20, trying to get his way further up the field. Possibly even trying to push up into the top 10 if he can. Of course, he has 11 minutes to do it if he wants to get into the top 10 for that reverse grid start. But he could also just try and get up a bit closer and try and break into the 10 for the second race throughout that proceeding as well.
Look, it's hard. I mean, you know, just my own experience with Tuesday night. I mean, the field is so tight. Even Sundays with the Pro-Am. And, you know, again, the classifications in here where we're seeing a few of the AM guys mixing it up at the front because it's that new track of Roberts here getting attacked.
I just noticed Benici had an incident, but he must have just had a little bit of a spin, so we clicked off that too quickly. But look at this battle though, nice and tight. Hey, it's a great view of the Blackout OPR livery actually. We need to go on board more often. Oh no, there's been a crash up ahead. Or in behind with Kinzel Filho
and Walker.
Yep, they're still rolling at the moment, but Kinzel Filho is losing portion of his car as these guys are still battling it out for position. This is some hard, fast racing at the moment, Cowie, and a lot of them are involved in some little incidents, but it is great to see some feistiness coming out of the F3 at the moment as we check out the replay of Kinzel Filho and Walker here into the mid part of the circuit.
Just going in a bit deep. Yep. Yeah, we've seen that a few times now. Guys getting caught out, maybe braking a little bit earlier, because again, it's sort of one of those corners where you really want to get a good exit. So we've seen that a couple of times now. F3 cars don't have brake lights, so you've got to be aware of it. When you're getting close to the car in front, you'll see a lot of the big shimmy there for Noble. Thought he was going to catch it. Unable to do so. And he's going to have to wait for a few of the field to come through before he can get going again.
Kevin O'Neill back in the middle field at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's a good little battle there back for the positions past P20. We've got, was that O'Neill, Benici, Johnston, Edwards. Oh no, sorry, Benici, Noble, and Philo in here. So
Philo, Morris as well.
Philo's got a damaged car. He's trying to get that around. Maybe has already used a fast repair. I can't remember because I think he was. Yeah, he's down 18 positions already. So I think Philo got caught up in an earlier incident. He's repaired his car and knows that he hasn't got another repair left. So it's just keep driving and see if I can get it home.
He's also copped himself a drive-through penalty for the contact on lap 7. So his race going from bad to worse here tonight. But O'Neill just trying to make his way back up the order. We'll head back up now to our battle between Shane Ratcliffe. He's got Timothy Schmalenberg all over the back of him, though. Schmalenberg had a really wide run through there as Gerard makes his way through. 50th race start for Matty Gerard here tonight. Big congratulations to Matty as he makes his 50th start on the grid.
Yep. We've also got another 50 for race number 2.
Well, they are not here tonight.
So here tonight,
no,
yeah.
Scotty Pocock's not going to make the 50 here tonight. So whenever he races next on a 2-night, or if he races on a regular round and then a sprint the next week, he'll get close. So not too far off.
There'll be a few. There's quite a few names that have got 50s under their belts by now. Quite a few regulars that have been driving with us for a few seasons. I've been here from word go, and they haven't got rid of me. So, if I manage to hang around this long, I'm sure some of these drivers can do it as well.
Well, I've been here for a year, and they haven't given me the flick yet. So, what does that say as well?
That's
so,
it.
and I realised this week, the last week was actually like a year since I started with SRW, because it was season 2 of last year that I started with SRW. So yeah.
Awesome. And I try to keep it to one night a week so I don't burn myself out. I do love, calling the F3s here. I wouldn't mind, maybe start calling the V8s when I finally get promoted out of the Pro-Am class. But the way that's going, there's a bunch of Pro-Ams ahead of me at the moment. I'm struggling to keep up with them.
Maybe you just need to win it on the Sunday and then you're guaranteed to get into Pro.
I don't think that. I don't know if I should get a promotion on the Sunday, because I know that there's a lot of quick guys, and it's good to see a few of them have come over to race on the Sunday too. So we had Kennedy. I know he didn't have a great night, but he raced round 1 at Sonoma. And I'm pretty sure I saw a couple of the other names there as well.
Well, not just that. I mean, if you think about it, Crosby won the Pro-Am Championship on Tuesdays, but didn't get promoted because he won on Tuesday. Where if he'd won on Sunday, he would have got promoted. It's quite weird how the promotion system works for the supercars. We were having a good chat about it prior to the race with Dean and how the promotions work, and there should be some documentation coming out soon kind of explaining the grading system that the admins and the league admins use as well. So then everyone's kind of aware of, well, actually, this is why you've been seated where you are. We're going to look at regrading people throughout the season dependent on how they're doing, sort of thing. So obviously after the first 3 rounds, that's when the initial regrading happens. So you might get drivers. I was saying to Hutto, there's not really any drivers in the field who should be going up in the F3, but maybe a couple who could be moving down into a lower class below them.
Well, I mean, look, the beauty is when you've got 35, 36 cars out there, we've got 3 different classifications all running together, and we can, sometimes you can get a little bit depressed if you're not really honest with yourself as a sim racer, because, with Max Verstappen racing iRacing, you can always say that there's going to be someone that's a bit better than you out there. But sometimes, you can not get frustrated, but you can start to think, why, I'm not getting any accolades running mid-pack. I'm not, getting to speak my sponsors, to the commentary and all that sort of stuff. So just opening up those other classes gives those mid-pack guys, something else to fight for, and it's awesome having those sort of championships within a championship, as much as it is racing with the big boys.
Well, obviously we've now moved over to taking the F3 approach to obviously post-race interviews, where we chat to the top 3 of the race and then the P1 position for Pro-Am and Amateur. If the Pro-Am winner ends up getting on the podium, well, it just means that we talk to one less person, because number one, it cuts back the time we're actually talking to people, But it's giving incentive to the primes and the amateurs to try and fight for wins if they want to come and have a chat to us and give a shout out to their sponsors as well.
No, I like it. I like it. You know, as I said, you know, we've it's only been the last few seasons that we've actually brought in the extra classification. The V8s have always had sort of an AM classification as well. But you know, we've sort of split it up with AM Pro AM as well now. So because you know, there can, I know that, you know, like I still call myself an average sim racer. You get me on a track that I know well, or I've you know, I can compete against the pros. I mean, the issue always is that, you know, when you're racing those pros, they can stay with you at 90% and save that extra 5-10% of their effort for the move, you know, the pass or the defense or whatever, you know, whereas, you know, in a lot of the cases, for me to keep up with some of those really fast guys, it's got to be a track I really know well, and I've got to be in the zone. I've got to stay in the zone because I'm right on the edge. You push too hard, you're gone. And I mean, that's the, you know, that's where enduro rounds make it interesting, because that's where sometimes you've got to think, you know, there's more involved. You can't just push hard, can't just drive the you know, the wheels off the car. You've got to think about your strategy, think about your tyres, those sort of things. It makes it interesting. Sprint rounds, though, they do have their element. What they have is that reverse top 10. So if we look at it at the moment, Konitska has recovered well to get himself back into P10 after copping that hit early on in the race. I'm pretty sure that car's probably still got a bit of damage. There's no, you know, go into the pits here, and you can see he's given up a little bit of speed, with Schmalenberg starting to really put the pressure on him here. But, you know, in a damaged car, it's a pretty good drive to keep himself up, vying for that P1 spot in the reverse grid race number 2.
Well, now he's going for P2 on the grid because he's just passed Shane Ratcliffe down the straight. So he's preferring to go for more points than for starting position, although P2 on the road, basically the same as P1. He's still on the front row. Had Jamie Davis in the chat asking if I do any racing. Not as much as what I used to, Jamie. Unfortunately, my rig's not actually set up at the moment. I do the odd race on my dad's rig because I live with my dad. Normally, it'll be, if I'm doing a race, it'll be a Pro 4 official because I love racing Pro 4s. Or I might do, like I did the Raw this year. I'll do the odd special event if I'm able to, whether it's a 12-hour or the 1,000. I don't really do any league racing anymore. I used to race a lot in GT cars in leagues. But my first ever league was OSR Devs. So I started in the supercar and then moved over to doing GT racing and more sports cars type of racing. But do love a bit of open wheel. I am still in love with the Formula Renault 3.5. It is one of my favorite open wheelers to drive. And I'll just go cut laps and do some practice as well. But no, I don't really do much racing because unfortunately my iRating's taken a bit of a hit after copping some unfortunate, unlucky races where some people have decided to pull out in front of me while I'm racing at the front. And they've had a crash and then it wrecks my iRating because I dropped down the order. So just one of those things.
Now. They've split the iRatings now for open wheelers and road licenses. So, you know, F3 and supercars is a separate thing nowadays.
That is true. That is true. And unfortunately, my open wheel license took a hit when I raced at Road Atlanta in the SF23. And someone decided to pull out in front of me after, you know, when you come down the hill and then you come out to what I call the bone of the pork chop, kind of at the top of the track, where you have the double right. They pull out and they took me out. But Dougie Gowan's leading the way.
One thing you learn. Yeah, I think now it's this last lap or maybe one more to come. I didn't see Barney waving a flag there before, but we are inside the final minute.
Yeah, I think we'll have one more after this.
His teammate, it seems he's happy to sit in behind and let Dougie have the honours, but I think early on Dougie had some great pace there, and that move that the two of them made, you know, that gave him that 4-second gap over the field. And I think Bernard Gallo might have got caught up with that moment with Konitska, and that's what created a bit of the gap. But they've never given it up, the Velocity Simblad boys, and one more lap to go by the looks of it. Oh no, coming around the final bit.
Now we are into the final lap now as they come in through the first sector of this track. So they've just started the final lap as they come through this little chicane that can cause some issues. We haven't really seen it cause much though. The real danger zones have been the outside
timing area. His run now. Let's have a look. No, he doesn't pop out.
No, he took the fastest lap last time round thanks to the tow. Did a 118.06. But I think he's just happy to let Doug have this at the moment and take home the win, and then they start P9 and 10 in the next race.
Yep, and our Carlin Motorsports, David Byrne Daniel Byrne and David Gallo. I was going to say it the wrong way around then, half of it. They're sitting P3, P4, and by the looks of it, those two boys are slotted in and are probably going to hold position as well. So it's double teaming by the teams to the front 4 spots for race number 1 here at Indianapolis Motorsport Park.
So as Gowans and De Bono come around the final corner at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's a 1-2 photo finish for Velocity Sim Labs with Gowans in P1, De Bono P2 on the road. Burns going to come home P3 ahead of his teammate David Gallo, the defending champion of last season, and Brandon Grotch will make up the top 5 in his debut season for the F3s. Dave Roberts will come home in P6 ahead of Sam Catacasinos, who comes home P1 for the Pro-Am, P7 on the road. Hodgkinson comes home P2 in the Pro-Am, P8 on the road. Marcus Knitska will start second on the grid, comes home in P9. Then Shane Ratcliffe makes up the top 10, finishing P3 for the Pro-Ams. Jamie's just asked us a question. What's your thoughts, Cowie, if we were to run a full reverse grid for the sprint rounds during the supercars? Well, it wouldn't just be supercars. You'd have to do it across the board. I personally think it'd be rad to do a full reverse grid for the second race of the sprint rounds. What's your opinions, though, as a driver?
Well, see what Jamie's talking about, though, like a reverse top 10 on a Tuesday night doesn't mean a lot, really.
No,
because,
it doesn't.
You know, the top 10 are all about the same pace, guys. See what he's sort of thinking about there. Look, it might be interesting for us, Jamie. You know, but I remember back when we first started SRW, we did do a couple of, full reverse grids, 30-plus cars, and they were absolute carnage. So, I know.
So you're saying that we want to bring it back?
On a Sunday wouldn't be in favour of it, I'm sure. But maybe Tuesday night, yeah, we'd be up for it, buddy. I'm sure we would be.
So our provisional race results for race number 1 here tonight is as follows. They'll grid up similarly, but the top 10 will be reversed. So it was Dougie Gowans to Dylan De Bono. Daniel Byrne finished in P3 ahead of David Gallo, Brandon Grotch in the top 5. Dave Roberts, Sam Catacasinos, Callan Hodgson, Marcus Knitska, Shane Ratcliffe make up the 10. Then Matt Tessuero, Timothy Schmalenberg, Nathan Verney, Matt Gerard, Brad Hudson, Nick Schmalenberg, Josh King, Mitch Noble, Dean Singovich make up the top 19 cars on the road, ahead of Peter Morris, Danny Manisic, Kevin O'Neill, Greg Johnson, Sean Benici, Nick Carroll, Jake Edwards, Martin Walker, Alan Dawson make up the top 28. And then it was Keegan Corbell, a couple laps down, with Chow, Kinzel Filo, Callum Rosanita, Benjamin Brook. Adam Hughes wasn't starting because he was in race control, and then Ty Delaney never started out there as well.
You know, it's awesome to have so many names out on track. I mean, we saw there a few guys pushing maybe a little bit too hard on cold tyres on that early lap 1. I think also we found it's, again, as I talked about the nature of that car, it does really seem that, you know, when in an open wheeler, you're always pushing for more pace, especially on corner entry, because that's where you get your grip from the downforce. And, you know, early on, we can see a few of the guys maybe overstepping that mark and losing the rear. Be interesting to see how many guys we see start to lose the rear and then are able to catch it and slide through. Because that's what we saw in the wet, especially at Fuji. In the dry, you're going a lot faster. So yeah, sometimes it's harder to react when you're right on the limit.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a little 5-minute warm-up session now, about 3 minutes to go. We're going to take a little break here to go get a little bit of a refreshment, stretch the legs, do the same, but make sure you come back because race number 2, 40 minutes of Indianapolis is coming up. And in a couple minutes' time, don't go anywhere. We are back from our little break there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go on board here with someone who's going to do a lap. Let's go with Nick Schmalenberg. We'll get a bit of a preview of the layout of this circuit from a driver's point of view. We haven't really followed someone for a full lap. This is, Gordon in the chat saying, question is the F3 harder to drive than the V8 supercar? No, it's not. It's really not. The F3 is a lot more forgiving than the supercar is, in my opinion. Not physically. Physically is like paper mache, but I think it's more forgiving as a driver.
Look, one of the things, like when I first got onto iRacing, I did my Mazda. I think I did I can't remember what class I did for the D class, and as soon as I got to C, I started racing the supercar. So, I find that I'm not as fast when I get into another car. I find I can't push as hard because I haven't driven it as much. So although, people say the supercar, probably along with the 992 Porsche was another one that was considered really hard to drive. The one without all the ABS and traction control. But because I've driven the V8 so much, I found that it was the car where I could feel when the rear was starting to go, and it gave me a chance to catch it. So although the V8 can be a hard car to drive, it seems to me it's one of those cars where you've got a lot more feel at the edge of grip than some other cars. Like some of the problems you have, and we've seen it tonight with the Formula 3s, is you push that little bit too hard and you lose the rear. Well, in the V8 supercar, it started protesting, when you start to push too hard. Now, the throttle is the problem with that car. If you get on it too hard, it'll kill you like it did to me last night. But that's, but coming from driving that car and focusing on that car, I find it easier to get to the edge of the grip limit than I do in some other cars.
I think what I've found with the open wheelers especially compared to the supercar, you can find pace in the open wheeler faster than you can in the supercar. It's almost easier to get to grips with. Once you know how to drive the supercar, then obviously you just go for gold and you can start gaining some pace. In the open wheeler, once you find your pace, there's still pace to be found, and you will always be learning things. Open wheelers are a fundamental car. Obviously, you learn fundamentals as you move up the rankings and as you move through the different types of car from F4 into SF24 into SF23, or if you go into Formula 3.5 with DRS and then up into the F1 car. So similarly to prototype racing, a lot of the fundamentals you're learning along the way, and it's a lot more of a roadmap than the supercar, which you get put into, which is very basic. You have roll bar and brake bias adjustment in the car, and you're just trying to, run around in a V8 powered boat trying to control it across the track. So, but they are very setup dependent as well.
Yeah, but I will say, but I've also seen that, it can be maybe a detriment to you too, because I know that when I drive a GT3 car, I don't push it as hard as I should, because I'm used to braking that little bit earlier, or, being more gentle on the throttle. I'm not trusting the ABS and the traction control that those cars offer. So, look, it'll be one of these days where I do change over to driving open wheelers a bit more. And, I think I keep threatening every season that this might be my last in the commentary because I want to get out and drive it.
Well, our starting grid for our second race here tonight, it is the same how they finished, except the top 10 has been reversed. So it'll be Ratcliffe ahead of Knitska on the front row, with Hodgkinson and Catakazinos on the second. Roberts and Grotch, they make up the top 6, with David Gallo, Daniel Byrne, Dylan DeBono, Doug Gowans lining up in behind. Everyone else is how they finished, with Tessero and Schmalenberg, and Vernie and Gerard, Hudson, all the way down to Benici and P24, and then from Carroll all the way back to Benjamin Brook as well. We're getting ready to go racing as the gridding up has proceeded. Lights are up. Let's go for the second time out at Indianapolis. Who's going to get the jump down towards turn 1? It was a great start there from the front runners, but an absolutely mega start from one of the cars there in the middle of the field. I believe that might have been Dave Roberts who got the jump there on the top 6 as he now moves up in throughout the field as they all spread out down towards turn 1.
Vernie and his Rainbow Machine got a good run there too, up through the middle, and he's riding up behind Gowans, I think, now. Oh, it's a bit of kind. He's got 40 contact. Commentator's curse again. Oh, no. I do call it from time to time, buddy, and that was a distance shot, so you can't really blame me, but, poor Nathan Vernie losing a rear wing there. We'll have to have a look at that and see what happened after the first lap.
We'll have to see if this is also going to be a safety car, Cowie, as well as Schmalenberg is not moving. He is off the track, But, yeah, you mentioned Vermey's name, and all of a sudden, all hell just breaks loose. So we'll have to wait and see if they call it. Yeah.
That's not my first time on this radio, Gordon, but strikes again for sure, buddy.
So apparently the safety car
has
has
safety car
jumped.
just called by race control, so yeah. So Greg's decided, no, I need to calm this down. There's a bit going on. Lap 1, we did see, 5, 6, 7 wide there at the race start. So with the safety car coming out on the track, buddy, might be a good chance to have a look at that start and see what happened.
Yeah, so
I'll have a look to see what happened to Vernie first.
This was down here into 2. Oh, he just looped
he
it.
just got turned. That was 3 cars trying to fit into 2, I think.
And then Schmalenberg actually must have broken his steering as well, because he did actually knock the wall there too. So we'll quickly find him, and we'll click on him, and we'll follow him on board, see what's happened. So obviously there's Vernie on the left-hand side as they come through.
That was a moment itself.
Oh, there was actually a knock. He actually hit him. So the left steering's already broken. There goes the right. So he broke both front ends of the steering. The right was obviously a lot more heavily damaged than the left, but left has been hurt from that initial contact as well. So that'll explain as to why we have got the safety car and why possibly Schmalenberg could be copping something from race control if he's not careful.
That's going to be a hard one for race control, but yeah, I mean, look, the golden rule is don't hit the car in front of you.
No, that's right.
In motor racing, so, I mean, it's not that race control wants to deliver the hard, heavy hammer of the law, but, the reason that we do have race control in a league is so that it's all on the same footing. We're not necessarily, you cop a black flag, it doesn't mean you're a bad driver or a bad driver. It just means you made a mistake and it's your turn to cop it and own up for it. So, well, want to have a look at that race start if we can, buddy, because there was some great action mid-pack there, 6, 7 wide, as the safety car will come out and this field. So we go back. No?
Should go Chamonix just a bit further back. Let's find someone a bit further up here. Oh, well, you see here all the cars just all spreading out.
Like the
down towards
low
1.
wide car there, you can see Jig and Jam. Oh.
Yeah, let's just
trying
look
to
at
go up
this.
the inside of the Burgundy car there, trying to go up the inside. I'm not sure who that is. But yeah, you can just see 4 or 5 wide and then big, deep lunges. It's a tight corner there, and then it tightens up again here. So,
So let's just quickly, while we're on the safety car, I just want to look at Brooks on board, because he was obviously at the back of the field at the start of the race, and he had made his way up through turn 1, but he was actually the car that we saw launched off of Vernie's car and did a little bit of a Pro 4 jump for us here on what is now going to be known as the Indianapolis Rallycross circuit, which also includes turn 1 and 2.
I was going to say the turn 2 jump.
Yeah. So, as you see, he comes through here. There's the smoke. He's tried to go on around the outside, and Vernie's just right there. Nowhere to go. Big launch and onto the ground. Probably massive underfloor damage on that car at the moment. But, yeah, that's just what happens.
He might have got away with tyres and suspension, but can't see has he pitted? Yeah, he has pitted. So, I think there was enough damage there that he's needed to use a fast repair up. It's a 5-second stop, so he maybe put a little bit of fuel in it, but we'll certainly have to pit again.
So Adam Hughes, our safety car driver here tonight. Good to see him back in a GT car.
Yeah, that's awesome. I haven't seen Hughes out on the track of late, but I know he is still a bit jaded that the Porsches aren't running again, because that's the car he loved.
I've been trying to sell it to Sinkovic for the last season and a half, Cowie.
Yeah.
Maybe now that
hey, in the end, it comes down to numbers.
That's right.
Look, in the end, it comes down to numbers. If we can get, look, you really need 30 to 40 registrations to guarantee 25 cars a night.
Yeah.
So, if you're not hitting those sort of numbers, then, it's hard for a series to maintain itself. I mean, It's not just the
well, it was like
logistics
with
and the money involved.
It was the same with the Formula Vs. I mean, the people spoke. Only 8 people signed up for them, and now the series is not running forward. So, you know, originally it was not going to run forward with the broadcast, and then last week the session wasn't set up correctly, so they didn't end up driving because drivers would have preferred to come in and practice for this or for Logi. So then they've just made the decision that it's not going to be happening now. So, just one of those things. And
it's hard, man. It's hard.
Is.
Like I mean, I suppose being an admin and that is a fairly thankless job, same as race control. I mean, you don't get a pat on the back when everything goes good. You only generally get a tap on the shoulder when it goes wrong. So it definitely is sort of one of those things that, you know, can take a while to get right, and can still be mistakes. But I mean, in the end, it's all about the drivers. If the drivers keep coming back and enjoy racing with each other, then you're going to have a strong league. And I mean, that's why we're getting great numbers out on track for the V8s and the Formula 3s and the 86s. How's the IMSA fields been on a Friday night at the moment too, Hamish?
so round 1 last week out at Portimao, we had about 7 GTP cars, and then I think, I want to say 12 to 15 GTDs. So it could be better. Obviously, we could get a couple more prototypes out there, or some more GT cars. There's been conversations had that, you know, ideally we'd like to have the GT field separated, so then they have an AM and a regular class, but that's only really going to happen if we have, you know, 30 GTs and we can separate them in half by 15 and 15. They'd still get scored the same, but half the field will be amateurs, half the field will be pros. I think in a perfect world, you'd have, you know, 15, 15, and 15. 15 GTPs, 15 regular GTDs, and then 15 GTD AMs out on the field.
In the perfect world, you have, you know,
and LMP2 as well. Yeah, we also have
two or three, but you'd have 2 or 3 servers where you've got, you know, 100 guys vying for the top 40 positions in split 1. You know, I mean, Vets has got a great setup going there on Thursday night. It's one of the things that can be hard to do when you do multiple nights like we do here at SRW too.
It's also hard to do when, like, Vets has been going for, it's their 19th season now. So.
Yeah, there's plenty of competition. There's multiple, like there's another F3 league that's racing the same car tonight, you know, that you're up against. But that's what's positive when you're seeing the names that are coming over from those series and running here and running with these boys. So, you know, and again, the strength of the mid-pack is where, you know, your bulkier racers are going to be. Us average sim racers, you give us you know, some clearly defined rules and some awesome racing, we'll keep coming back.
Well, if we think about it, I mean, arguably Daniel Byrne, Dylan DeBono, and David Gallo, they could be in the Logitech Pro Series for, like, for F3A, sorry, for F3A. They could run in that series if they wanted to. They'd be fast enough to qualify, but they want to race with us because they enjoy racing in this field and they enjoy racing underneath this rule set. That's their decision. There's others who, you know, I know that I think Connor Nixon was going to be, does Logitech Pro Series. He'd love to run these, but unfortunately they are in line with the Logitech Pro Series. So just one of those things. And, you know, there's only 7 days in a week. There's only so much racing that someone can do.
Oh.
You know, sometimes I pick one or the other.
You know, I'm home a lot of the time, and I still struggle to get in practice for you know, the 2 races I do that are the same track and the same format for the week. You know, so, and I mean, you know, I know that we're coming in line with a few of the officials and that, which will make it, you know, more appealing for guys that are doing, you know, pretty much most of the V8 series have followed that format. Because, you know, it's all about trying to get more bums on seats, get more drivers out there.
That's right. And, you know, maybe next season, obviously we're running official tracks this season, but they're not in line with officials. Maybe next season we move to the, you know, in line with officials, exactly in line with officials, to try and get more drivers in, but who knows. We're going to get restarted here in just a moment, as the safety car has been pulled in, and Knitska will have control of the field once we get ready to go green. When he crosses the line, he'll have control around the final corner, and it'll be up to him to get restarted here tonight under green conditions. No passing though before the control line, which is the start-finish line, the beautiful brick start line here in Indianapolis, hence why it's called the brickyard. But Konitska's already gone nice and early. He's gone on the apex of the final corner. Lap 7 here, 10 minutes, 50 seconds. Lap 6 because safety car already crossed the line. But 10 minutes, or nearly 11 minutes into our 40-minute affair here tonight. And you can see them all spread out in the background as they come through turn 1. As Grotch follows them through with Gowans on the back of him at the moment. And then Roberts trying to hold them off.
Must have been close for someone like a Dawson to, maybe think this is on the edge of the pit window. We saw Alan Dawson did go into the pits. Jake Edwards pitted as well. So whether or not that was maybe a strategic call, 11 minutes into the race, the pit window is lap
They came in on
12
lap 1.
to 9.
They came in on lap 1, so...
Oh, okay.
So they would have come in to fix their cars from that incident, possibly.
Yeah, Hodgkinson pitted lap 5, so he's maybe one, but remember he was damaged too, and we've got a big
We're going to have another safety car. This has got to be another one.
Broken car.
Yep.
Oh, so one, you've missed the boat again. No, he's got going, but he's maybe going to be able to drive that car up into...
He may be. So we cut to it as it happened, but this was the incident.
Alright, so what's happened here? Bit of grass. Just a tank slapper by the looks of it. Yep. Just got the rear of the car loose, overheated those rear tyres, and then someone's pulverised him on the way through.
Yep, that's pretty much all it is.
And the car that came through and hit him, got to be careful there. I know that was having a chat with one of my ex-teammates, because he's now driving for MSR, but Travis Daly. And he was talking about an incident that he got caught up in, but race control deemed it no further action, self-inflicting, because he didn't get off the gas when it happened. Like, you could see it up in the distance. Oh, look, a moment there again for Gerard, getting himself mixed up in some action that might see him cop a penalty too. But what Travis didn't do is he didn't slow down for the incident. He tried to go through and then he made contact, and he called it out on the radio, and race control said, well, you didn't take any avoiding action. It's as much your responsibility to try and avoid an accident. It's not really Days of Thunder where you just put your foot down and drive through the smoke. If you've got to take any reasonable actions to avoid an incident, and that even means if the track is blocked in front of you.
Been a big incident down at the second to last corner involving Morris, Schmalenberg, Kinzel, Philo, and Verney. You can see them all. They're all over the track. Just a massive schmozzle waiting to happen.
Oh, just noticed the tail
big
there and a bit of
lock-up.
contact.
Yep.
Oh. I mean, you can see that was just a tiny little mistake from Morris. Went in just a tiny little bit deep. But because he contacted the car in front, he checked up, and then the guys behind him, suddenly it just creates that concertina effect. And a nice bit of movement up here at the front with Grotch.
Roberts.
Was that
and
Roberts
Gowans.
and Grotch both getting around Gowans there, I think it was. So
defend nicely against him. As Caldwell's also now moved up into the top 10.
And DeBono, he's the big mover earlier on, up 5, P4 now, so quick mover. Caldwell up 19, so he's had a great start too in that awesome centre full kit livery.
As this battle's still happening and Roberts is off the track with Gowans and Grotch, possibly some contact. It came to, oh no, looks more like a tank slapper. It was.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of grass there, I think, because they're running pretty wide. You can already see a few tyre marks there on the grass on that inside curb.
But Konitska leads the way with Katagazinos. Oh, that's not what we want. We want this. With Katagazinos 1.7 seconds off the back of him, with Gallo fast approaching the Velocity SimLabs driver into the top 2. To Bono all over him as well, though.
Sam's had some good pace tonight. I did see his name up, a Pro-Am driver running P2 at the moment, so he's inside that top 10. Look at Tessiero running 8th as an AM as well, so both having a great drive. But I noticed early during quali that Katagazinos, looked like he had it dialed in around Indianapolis here.
Yeah, he's finding some pace. Maybe one of the drivers to be looked at to move up into the pro class after reclassifications.
He's with a decent team at the moment. The Velocity Sim Lab boys are looking after Sam, and he's definitely found some pace since he's come over and joined those lads. So, a work in progress. Look at the run here that De Bono gets on Gallo with a slingshot, and he might be able to get around his teammate here as well. Oh, look at that. Gallo popped out. I don't think De Bono was expecting that, and then he's been a little bit cautious with his teammate, you know, not risking anything. So that was a nice little opportunistic grab from Gallo there. That would have been tight coming out down that straight.
Yeah, there would have been absolutely nothing between them. Peter Morris has been given a penalty for that incident that occurred at turn 12. He now has a drive-through for that incident we previously checked on. As David Gallo has now Sam Catacasinos and Dylan De Bono in behind him. Daniel Byrne on the back of those boys. So a bit of a Carlin's Velocity sandwich happening at the moment with the Carlin's boys as the bread and the Velocity boys as the meat in the middle of the sandwich, or whatever you prefer to have between your two pieces of bread, whether it's meat, whether it's a spread, whatever it may be. Well, those boys make it up at the moment. When are we bringing dirt racing again, Sheevy? I want a Pro 4 series. We need a Pro 4 series on SRW. It would be incredible. What do you reckon, Cowie? Bit of Pro 4s?
I've never driven them, so, you know, I'm not sure. I mean,
they're a heap of fun.
Yeah.
I will say that. Crandon, Wild Horse, incredible.
Look, it's one of those things that's so hard. I mean, when I first got into iRacing, I tried a few different cars out. You know, gave the sprint cars a go, gave you know, a couple of the Formula cars a go. But you know, I've always been a V8 fan of the V8. So as soon as I got that license, you know, that's where my officials, and I reckon I've probably done maybe half a dozen officials outside the V8s, and I reckon pretty much all of them would have been, you know, Bathurst in the GT3, practicing for the 12 hour.
Well, Konitska leads the way. 2.2 seconds is the gap. He's got a nice little lead here over Gallo and De Bono. I don't believe Konitska's won a race just yet in the F3, so this could be a nice first-time winner for us, although, as we mentioned, we only ever had 5 debut winners, one of them being Alan Dawson. Another, our safety car driver, Adam Hughes, is one of those as well. So we have 2 previous debut winners, technically in quotes, on track tonight.
Well, at the moment, Konitska doing a good job. He's got a 2-second gap over Gallo, so, you know, 2.2 now. So that's, you know, it's going up actually, as we say, because I'm sure Gallo's just losing a little bit of time behind him, but he's driving well at the moment. Contact in race number 1, well, you know how you solve that. You run right out in front of everyone and make sure you're too fast for them to catch you. That way they can't run into you.
That's right. If you can keep that gap, keep out of the toe, it's up to their pure pace then over you to try and catch up and try and get onto the back of you. At the moment, they're lapping about the same pace. Last lap for Konitska was a 118.43. Gallo's was a 118.4, so he's not actually catching him at a rate of knots at the moment. Konitska's just cruising right now. I mean, you know, Burns set some good times, so's De Bono. But Konitska could be on here for quite an impressive win as we come up towards the pit stop period, which we believe is between lap 12 and lap 19.
I thought we might have been on the edge of the pit window, you know, for a few of the boys. I think race control maybe did a lap or so longer than they thought with that safety car. It's 11 minutes in. That might have put them right on that window. We'll have to see if the guys that pitted early on, if that safety car, you know, brings the window down. But the notes that Hutto gave us earlier, it was the first, you know, 16 laps for 20 minutes. So it'll be 31 laps or so if it stayed green. And the pit window was, what, 12 to 19. So that's telling me that, you know, even with, you know, 7 or 8 minutes taken out of the race maybe for the safety car, it's still probably not going to enough, you know, to find it where you need to find an extra 5 or 6 laps, not 2 or 3.
We've got clear skies now out at Indianapolis, so not looking like any chance of rain here tonight for this race. Which race on the calendar, Kerry, do you reckon we are most likely to see rain coming? I'll bring it up so I can run through them. So obviously we've got Nürburgring next week, then Imola, then Long Beach, then Motegi, then Montreal, and Laguna Seca, and then Barcelona rounds out the season. Which one of those upcoming 7 rounds do you reckon we are most likely to see rain happening?
Well, based on the torrential downpour and the change in the weather in Fuji, I think I'd go with Motegi out of that list.
I mean, quite possibly. Although Nürburgring, we could see some rain, possibly.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not the Nordschleife, you know.
No.
That'd be awesome.
Sheafy saying as well at Imola, possibly. I don't think we're going to see it at Long Beach or Laguna Seca, being they're both in California. Montreal, maybe. Maybe we see some rain at Montreal. I mean, we know it rained there in 2011, and it created possibly the greatest Formula 1 race of all time. I don't know. It's a tough one.
I mean, look, I suppose if we just continue to do our rain dances before the broadcast starts, you know, then we'll get our wish, you know, more than enough as the weeks go on. But no, look, it's awesome having that anticipation be there, and you know, you can see. I mean, if we get one of those rounds where, you know, right at the start it's going to be, you know, 80-90% chance of rain or something like that, so that the practice that the guys do through the week is wet practice, that's going to be the interesting one, to see how far people are willing to push in the rain, instead of just survive the rain, but actually, you know, attempt and make those moves and really put the work in. You see Johnson there pulling over with a moment, maybe coming to the pits with a bit of damage.
He's up into turn 12. We've seen a heap of contacts here.
Oh, he's been tapped.
Yeah.
Okay, and
he was already half rotating, and someone helped him around.
And again, that's what we're seeing, that concertina effect, that, you know, you got to slow right up to cover the car or recover, you know, the spin or catch it, and it just creates a concertina effect. The cars behind aren't expecting it, and you know, I think a lot of open wheel driving can, you know, have to do with trusting the guy in front is not going to brake, you know, 3 meters earlier than he normally does, and you know, being early on in the season with a few new names out there, good catch. See that? That's what I was talking about before, Hamish. You know, we saw Dylan start to lose the rear there, but he caught it immediately. And I mean, that's what we see the difference in the level of, you know, the pros versus the pro-EMs, and see with the fast guys versus the slower guys, is their ability to catch that. And that means that they're more prepared to send it. And here making a great move up the inside of David Gallo to take P2. Yeah, excellent move there. Made it look very easy. But that corner before, we could see the rear step out, and he caught it and he used it, and that means he's going through the corner 5 or 10 k's an hour quicker than the guys that aren't putting it out there on that limit. That's where the pace is.
Yeah, he's finding some pace, and he's finding the limits of where he can push this SF24 Super Formula Light here in the Shannon's Formula 3 Nationals. Big thank you obviously goes out to all of our series sponsors, including our title sponsors, Shannon's Insurance and Warren & Brown Tools, as well as Motorsport Australia, DSL Rail Services, NeuroPower, Shunt Scenery as well. Thank you for supporting the series. Thank you everyone else as well for tuning in tonight, today, or this afternoon, wherever you may be watching from. And thank you for bringing us into your homes or your work or your campsite, wherever you may be. Appreciate the time you're putting in. If you haven't already, hit the like button, the subscribe, and the bell icon, so you are notified anytime we go racing with our 5 racing series, including the Warren & Brown Tools Bet Supercars series every Tuesday night, the Shannon's Insurance Formula 3 Nationals here on Wednesdays, Shannon's Insurance GR86 Nationals, which is also a Motorsport Australia official series, the Friday night IMSA Shadow series brought to you by Warren & Brown Tools, and then rounding out our racing week, the Sunday night Motorsport Australia Warren & Brown Tools V8 Supercars Super Sunday / Monday during Scops rounds, which round out our racing week. So a lot of action to come, and a lot of racing to come in the next 7 or so weeks, Cowie, as we continue on through our season around the world.
Well, right at the start, we've got shadow rounds coming up. Isn't it is this the 3 week in a row for Formula One?
It could possibly be.
So we're going to see some shadow rounds sort of mixed in with our regular season here as well. So, it might not be double the amount of races, but it's double, 2 lots of points in the same race. So
No, our 3 weeks in a row is Long Beach, Motegi, and Montreal.
Right, okay.
Because I believe it's... Oh, no, actually, no. Well, we might be on the 3 week run, actually. Let me just double check. I'll check on my phone. Everything over, but I'll double check just to make sure when our shadow rounds are going to be happening more often. We see Gallo and Byrne just trying to make their way back up onto the back of Dylan DeBono, who's now begun to gap them and trying to chase down our race leader Marcus Knitska. Nice little battle happening a bit further back here between Hodgson, Sinkovich, Ratcliffe and Dawson are all involved in this battle at the moment. Cowie could be on for young and old.
Oh, and some are going into the pits there, so I think that might have been Dawson, is it? Going into the pits? Yep. So definitely that early pit, not giving him a chance to get home. One safety car at the moment. We thought there was going to be a second one, so he's still on at the moment, Hamish.
Yeah, they've kind of settled down a little bit here as they get towards the latter half of the race, of course. As we are now past our halfway point, 27.5 minutes out of 40. But we are getting into that pit stop period. Remember, we said lap 12 to lap 19. So it's all coming down to the nitty and gritty at the moment.
Well, so one of the things we'll see, I think, because, the pit window is was probably 2 or 3 laps the other side of halfway. With that safety car in, we're going to see these guys probably run to within, the last sort of 10 minutes of the race, use up every drop in the tank, run the car as light as possible, and then, put the out back in to get home. I mean, when you've got a tow on offer, we're going to, a few kilos of fuel is going to slow these cars down a little bit. So, if you've got the tyre life, this is when you push, when the car's at its lightest.
So just to confirm, our 3 weeks in a row come as of the final round of this season, so Barcelona, and then we'll have 2 shadow rounds in the break. They are in the first 2 weeks of the break, and that'll be Red Bull Ring and Silverstone. So that's the little 3 week chunk in there. Cool. So from round 9 of our season, and then the first 2 weeks of the break will be, all 3 weeks will be F1 shadow rounds, including the final round of this series. So that's the
what
3 week chunk.
What you're telling me is that we're not getting a break then?
We're not getting a break for about 11 weeks, Cowie. We got 11 rounds in a row to do. So, we get no luck on that front. But we will get a week's break in between the start of the season and the last F1 shadow round before the start of the season. Ironically, round number 1 will also be an F1 shadow round at Hungaroring. But yeah, we'll get 1 week break in between. But it's important that we broadcast the F1 Shadow Series because, we broadcast the majority of the races. We don't want to have it be like when Channel 10 was only showing about 3 or 4 races out of 10 for F1. We want to be able to show as many as we can outside of, either myself or you being sick or away and not in, and no one's available to do it. So.
Well, Stephanie jumped in and covered for me last season on those couple of rounds where I couldn't make it, which is awesome. I was trying to help out with the V's on a Monday night with JP. So I probably did actually a bit more broadcasting last season than I normally do. But look, it's one of those things when I race a couple of nights a week, broadcast a night a week, and I'm a muso, so generally my weekends are taken up there. So, I'm not complaining because I've got a bit more free time than some other people I know that are doing 9 to 5s as well. But again, it's still hard to, put more than a few hours practice in each week. So if you're trying to race multiple disciplines, half the time you're trusting just your raw talent and picking it up as you go. I know looking at Hodgkinson here, Callum is definitely one of those guys that, used to race everything. I think he's still doing a few different races at different leagues, but I think he's starting to focus more on the open wheel cars in recent times, and you can see, his pace is definitely showing as a result. although he's caught up in a few incidents. That's what generally happens when you're pushing yourself.
That's right, as Konitska, De Bono, Catacasinos, Caldwell, Tesuero, Roberts, and now Josh King all bring their cars into the lane, as well as Shane Ratcliffe as well. So Benici Hodgkinson staying out on track as the majority of the top half of the field have now come in for their scheduled pit stop in this race with 9 minutes to go. So it's looking more and more likely that I've actually gotten it right this week on safety cars, Cowie, as we only have 4 minutes left until no more safety cars. Touch wood, we have a clean running for the next 4 minutes.
Yeah, okay, well, you went with the easy option, just saying one.
Oh.
Could have gone for a donut, but you dodged it.
Oh. Temptation to drop a bomb there, with, starting with an F. I mean, we can't always pick it right. I mean, I called a donut once before and I was wrong.
I never picked it right.
So if I'd picked the donut and I was right, then you would have called me a pansy for not testing the waters, for not picking any. So
well, I just can't bring myself to picking a donut. So I always want the action.
I do as well. I was just trying to be realistic when I picked the donut. So it's just one of those things. But obviously, 8 minutes of running left to go. Daniel Byrne leads the way as he brings it into the pits alongside Gallo, Groch and Gowans. Benici, I believe, has also brought it in, but Hodgkinson has stayed out for another lap, pushing the waters here, or pushing the fuel limits, we should say, as he goes an extra lap before bringing it into the pits. Although he's already had 2 pit stops, so he can actually go a little bit further than the other guys, but we do expect him to come back in. As,
that lap 5, so he pitted at the start of that safety car. He's done a lot of running behind it. Is he going to have enough left in the tank? I mean, I thought someone might roll the dice and try for it. So I'd love to maybe go on board and see if he is really saving aggressively. If we can have a look at Hodgkinson and see if we can hear him lifting off.
Well, it'll be the test into the heavy braking zone. Dean Singovich has also stayed out. He hasn't come in just yet. No, he's full belt. He's full belt.
Yeah, not hearing it. So maybe it was just a bit too far. We'll probably find out in the next lap or two whether or not he's got enough to come home or he's got a pit. But again, these are the plays that if they're out there, you generally see people like myself have a go at them because when you're not the quickest out there and you're not the quickest, you look for any time you can find a little advantage where a bit of strategy maybe gives you track position, or the safety car comes out at the time and maybe it is a roll of the dice. But if it works, it's brilliant, and if it doesn't work, well, you finish P20 instead of P15.
Well, one thing we can think about, Cowie, is there are 6 minutes to go in this race. Minute 18 for a lap, minute 19 for a lap. Call it a minute 20. If he can save
5 laps.
Yeah, 5 laps. He could make it. He only has to save a lap of fuel.
But I'm not hearing any saves. See, the pit window was lap 12 to 19, right? So we're on lap 21 now, and he pitted on lap
23
5.
now. Lap 23.
So but how many more laps we're going to get in? Maybe another 5. He pitted
on lap 4.
So what? On lap 4. So what lap are we now? 26. So that makes 27. And if the pit window is 19, then he needs to find like 8 laps, not 5. So I'm thinking, you'd have to do a big heavy save, but I'm just not hearing it.
No, I'm not either. I've been trying to clutch at straws to make some drama. Who knows? Maybe Callan will answer us for us if he actually does bring it in.
Giving us something to talk about, buddy. So, I'm already peaked interest-wise. But at the moment, yeah, he's just pushing hard. He's not even thinking about saving. I mean, it could mean that he's right on the button.
Maybe. Maybe he's right on it. Maybe he's going to be able to make it.
Oh, he's still out there. He's going around another lap.
He is. He's having another crack. So he's
Unfortunately, we are inside that final 5 minutes, so there won't be another safety car. So you had won the honours tonight, Hamish, I'm forced to say. And maybe Hodgkinson would have liked to have seen one. Because again, part of that play may well have been pit early. If there's a second safety car, I'm in the box seat. I've got track position and I can make it home.
This is all I'm going to say, Kerry, about getting that right.
I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
Sound bites.
I use them
Sound
rarely,
as
but I
Tyson.
use them well.
Sound as bad as Tyson. He pulls them out in our Discord chat all the time. Shout out to our race controller out there tonight. He hasn't had to do too much. It's surprising. It's been a fairly clean race, apart from those couple of restarts and moments.
He's not in. Well, he hasn't enough to do tonight because he's not in the RC room tonight, Cowie. It's Husey, Barbs, and Leaky on his return. Great to see Leaky back as Callan brings it in. So he could not make it to the end of this race. Konitska will now retake the lead. And it's him versus De Bono for the final 4 minutes of running here in tonight's race. So it's De Bono versus Konitska with only a handful of laps to go. Can De Bono get him, or can Konitska hold on to the checkered flag?
Well, he's already sniffing at the doorstep there, Dylan De Bono. These guys have got a 5-second lead over the Carlins Motorsports pair of Byrne and Gallo. So, yeah, it's pretty much a two-horse race unless these guys make a mistake. But, you know, so far, Konitska, he's done exactly what he needed to do. Get to the front, avoid any further altercations that he copped in race number 1. But De Bono here getting a run up the outside. He's looking to try and set up the next section, but maybe that curbing cost him a little bit of run there, a bit of a bump.
So under all sorts of pressure is Marcus Konitska from this man, Dylan De Bono, in behind. Velocity Sim Labs wants to get another win under his belt in this car. And he's only got one man to get past. Marcus Konitska will try and make that thing as wide as possible. Here trying to defend against De Bono. This is a track. You can get moves done. It's not hard to pass around here, but it is easy to defend. So that's going to be the challenge for De Bono now, is trying to get by him, but then also hold him off for the final couple of minutes. 37 3/4 minutes done.
Immediately Konitska making sure he didn't give the inside up to De Bono, so De Bono's got to go around the outside.
Oh, needs to be careful of moving.
Now, well, he's trying to gain back a bit of room for the apex, but De Bono has got that job done. Clean move there. Konitska, you know, did what he can and tried to force the issue. Coming out a little bit there, that was a little cheeky, but Dylan gave him the room and still got it done around the outside, so that's a great move.
So what could be interesting now is Konitska's now going to have the toe down the straight, and if he can get it back done.
Yep. So it may well come down to, you know, who's he running P2 on the final lap.
De Bono's lost
it! He's gone in too hard. He's recovered. He's going to be fighting with the Carlins boys. That's Burner's got around him. He might hold it for Gallo, but that is a big moment for Konitska, who now finds himself 5 seconds in the lead with no one on his tail.
Given an absolute gift from whatever deity you may believe in, this was how it happened for De Bono. Big lockup, and it just rotates round. Konitska very lucky not to cop into him as he came through the corner. But Marcus Konitska has been gifted an absolute gem as he comes onto the final lap of the race.
I don't necessarily call that a gift, because that's pressure. You know, Dylan knew he had to break really deep to keep Konitska back there, and that's what he did, and it was just, you know, a metre too deep. So, you know, in tennis they might refer, I reckon that in tennis they would refer to that as a forced error, not an unforced error. And I mean, that's what we're talking about. You don't always have to, you know, do peekaboos and everything to, you know, to create that tension with the car in front, just sheer pace. And, you know, Dylan knew that he had to outbrake him. We can see here Gallo trying to do the same thing.
He's under massive pressure from David Gallo now. Big under. You see the nose of the car just dip underneath the rain light of the SF24 of Dylan De Bono. He may have survived once more. But Marcus Konitska, after an incredible run and keeping the pressure up on De Bono after he lost the lead, took it back on the second to last lap. And will now come around the final corner to take his first win in Shannon's Formula 3 Nationals as a pro in the 155 machine. A great run from him. Byrne took advantage of De Bono's mistake. He'll come home in P2. De Bono luckily stays on the podium, comes home P3 ahead of Gallo and Grotch. Katakazinos comes home P1 for the Pro-Ams. And then Dean Sinkovich is battling it out here with Matt Tessiero for the winning of the amateurs. He's just lost the lead as Tessuero tries to hold him off through the final couple of corners.
Well, it was close, so Gerard was in between these two the lap before, so Sinkovic has been coming close up on the back. Tessuero, I think he's got enough done here. Sinkovic with a little tank slapper back there that cost him all of that momentum, and it will be Tessuero who comes home to take out the AM victory tonight.
Someone's running out of fuel on the line. That's Brad Hudson. So unfortunately for Bradley, the admin, he's going to cop a rear of grid.
Yeah, but he rolled the dice there, Hutto. And so, look, I did the same thing round one in the V8, so I feel for you, Hutto. He's rolled the dice and tried to, get it home. But, yeah, I'd say he's likely in the line for a rear grid for next race. But Marcus Knitska, he withstood the storm, the De Bono storm, and De Bono cooked it. And he's able to run home with the victory. But as I said, he'd earned it. He built that lead early on in the race. He jumped clear. It was a great drive from De Bono to chase him down and force it there for the last couple of laps. But in the end, it was that early consistency from Knitska. He avoided the issue that copped him in race one with contact from another driver. Best way to do that is to get out front and stay there.
Well, after the Dylan De Bono, or should he now be known as the Dylan debacle, Knitska takes home the win. Unfortunate for De Bono, but he at least gets it home on the podium still. P3, Byrne doing what he does best, keeping it clean, gets it into P2. What a hell of a podium for us to have. Gallo just missing out. And then we'll also be chatting to Katakazinos and Tessuero, who got home just ahead of Sinkovic for the amateur victory.
Look, it'd be interesting to ask Dylan how much on the edge there. I'm sure he just went a tiny bit deeper because he knew that Knitska was going to have a go at him there. But we're seeing a couple of other cars sort of slow on the trying to get around. Is that Gallo out of fuel there, trying to come around?
Possibly. We are at quarter speed at the moment, so he might be all right, but we'll have to wait and see.
I think he actually missed the pits.
I think that's what he's done. But it was Knitska to Daniel Byrne to Dylan De Bono for our provisional results, with David Gallo, Brandon Grotch making up the top five. Sam Katakazinos comes home P6. P1 for the Pro-Ams ahead of Doug Gowans, Dave Roberts. Callan Hodgson, Matt Gerald will make up the Pro-Am podium in P9 and P10, with Shane Ratcliffe just missing out on those honours, with Matt Tessuero taking home amateur victory ahead of Dean Sinkovic in P2. P13 on the road, Sean Benici, Josh King in behind. Callum Rossonid will come home P3 for the AMs ahead of Nathan Verney in P17 on the road, with Greg Johnson making up our top 18 out there. Then move back to Benjamin Brook, Nick Schmalenberg, Keegan Caldwell, Jake Edwards, Martin Walker, Mitch Noble and Alan Dawson, who make up our top 25. Dawson, the last of the drivers to go a lap down. Ahead of Danny Matisic, Chai Kilnzel, Phil Ho, Brad Hudson, who ran out of fuel on the line, Kevin O'Neill, Timothy Schmalenberg, Nick Carroll, Peter Morris rounds out our grid. Big thank you to our race controllers, Adam Hughes, Greg Leake, and Greg Barber here tonight. Great to have Leakey back. Glad that everything's all good with him. For our class finishings, this is how they rounded out. Tessuero to Sinkovic to Rossonida, Johnson, Schmalenberg, Caldwell, Noble, Matisic, Schmalenberg, and then Morris. And then for our Pro-Ams out there, it was Katakazinos to Hodgkinson, Gerard, Ratcliffe, Benici, King, Verney, Walker, Hudson, O'Neill. And then for the big boys, the pros out on track, it was Knitska, Byrne, De Bono, Gallo, Grotch, Gowans, Roberts, Brook, Edwards, Dawson, Kinzel, Philo, Carroll, and Delaney never got started as he was spotting instead of hanging out with us. The absolute little gremlin he is.
It was a solid opening from a Grotch there too tonight, right in the mix of it. So, look, his name was right up there in qualifying and, mixing it with the pros up front, the same names we've been talking about for a few weeks. So that's good to see. We want to see more of those high caliber drivers come in here and really take it to our pros.
So I've noticed as well, we've got De Bono and Knitska in the green room. I wonder what the conversations are like in there right now, Cowie.
Fly on the wall stuff. No, I'm sure with good respect from the boys. Dylan will be the first to admit if he overcooked it. And we'll get to ask him that question. Now we are waiting for our Am and Pro-Am winners to come in as well to have a chat with them. I'll give them a little bit more time, maybe. Can we waffle for another 20 seconds?
I'm sure we can, Cowie. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that we can talk about here tonight. But what a way, though, for Indianapolis to debut. I mean, a great race, bit of action, a safety car thrown in for good measure. I think Indy, in the first 2 rounds, new tracks for the F3s, they delivered quite nicely, I reckon.
Yeah, well, it can be a gamble. I know that we've had a few seasons where some of the tracks chosen for the F3s haven't been ideal. Probably Winton in the old F3 comes to mind. But so the drivers have had sort of a bit of input. And I think with Hutto being an admin as well as sort of one of those Pro-Am drivers, then he's the one that's really sort of bringing that to the fore. And I think, bringing the drivers' opinions when it comes to tracks and stuff like that. So, I mean, probably for the last 3 or 4 seasons, the choices for the tracks have really suited the cars and have created great racing as a result.
So we have Mr. Catagazinos in there, but we don't have Mr. Tesuero. So maybe we're just dragging Sam and hope that Matt shows up.
I think that's what we're going to have to do. Bring him in because we may not get to talk to him too much more if he continues with this strong effort. Sam Catagazinis, our leading Pro-Am buddy. Keep going P5 in the pros or P6 in the pros and you may lose that Am status on the end of your name there.
I'm surprised I'm here. Hi, everyone. Thanks for saying my name correctly. Howie, you did really well. I did not believe that I won the Pro-Am this one. This race and the last race together.
Well, what I can see, Sam, is it looks like the influence of a Mr. Dylan DeBono and the grandpa, and maybe sort of getting the practice time with them seems to be sort of helping you along, and we're finding your name coming up further and further up the ladder. So you must be enjoying that fact of your racing.
I must say, since I joined Velocity Sim Lab at the start of the year, you're right. The sprinkling and seasoning of information and tips and tricks and just following these faster guys all together really is helping me sort out how to better enjoy my racing and make the most of it. So yeah, I think you're right. I think these guys are helping me get my race face on and improving my race pace. Although I must say I wasn't very fast, but at least I didn't hit a wall and I didn't jump off the track. And I did, I think, 1 spin in race 1, coming out of the last corner, and I lost a spot to that. Apart from that, I think my consistency's stepped up. So I may not be winning like fastest laps, but staying up and being consistent near the top, that's a good place to be.
Sam, 2-part question just quickly. Were all the Velocity boys in Discord together? And then the second part to that, if you were, what was the reaction from Dylan when the moment happened on the second to last lap when he spun around and gave up the lead to Marcus?
Had my earbuds on, and so that helped me greatly suffer the burden of the outputs that was happening in Discord. So, yeah. I don't know exactly what happened. I got a gist of it. So yeah,
well, look,
considering the effort that was put in place to get near the front, to have that done is a bit of a blow, isn't it? I mean, you work your way up and you get so close to finishing at a good spot.
Sam, I was going to say, I mean, this is a fairly new track for, well, we haven't run it before in the F3s. Prior to this round, had you done much work there? The Velocity boys, you guys have obviously done some practice here, but had you done many races here before in this car?
In this car, personally, in this car, no. In other cars, yes. So IndyCar, the Formula style cars. Now that we've broken the license, the Formula style cars I've raced on here, so that would be IndyCar, Dallara F3, a few of the smaller winged ones, Skip Barber.
the reason that I asked that is we saw, so as you said, you had a spin there on the last corner in race number 1. And we
Yeah.
just saw a few of the guys, maybe going a little bit deep or trying to carry a little bit more speed through the corners. Now, one of the things we've talked about with these cars is that they seem to be a bit easier to drive than the F3s, but then you see moments like that out on track. Is it probably more down to the track or just the fact that you're pushing so hard to compete, with all the drivers around you?
I can only speak for myself, so here it goes. This car has an amazing amount of steering ratio. Like, I need to turn the wheel more than I feel usual to get the wheels pointed into the corner, and I've been slowly realizing I've not been turning enough. So I've been having to steer the wheel more than, like, say, a 90 degrees, even closer to 135, and I'm getting better lap times. And with that, I'm able to turn in, and then as I accelerate out the corner, I can unfeed the wheel, unwind the wheel, and really get a much less slip angle and friction coming out of the corner, and I'm gaining time with that. Also, brake balance helps a lot with this car. Because it's a fixed setup, we aren't allowed to do much. So for me, having the brake balance moved a little bit backwards helps with the pointing of the car. So it's the only tool that's available to me, brake balance, so I've got to work with that with a fixed setup.
Well, Sam, since you have got Dylan, your teammate, coming to have a chat to us as well, do you want to look after the sponsors or do you want to leave it up to him?
They get
I'll give it a go.
Points of the cherry, yeah, they get a
I'll
double
give it a
five.
go. Let me go. I'm part of the crew, so I should be able to do this kind of stuff.
No, that's all good. Well, let us know, mate, who's
So,
giving you the support and helping get velocity
firstly,
out on track.
I want to thank Hikoki Power Tools. They're here to race, and all the boys on the team for putting in a good effort. If I missed anyone, please shoot me. So you might need to bring Dylan in, but I think I did a okay job.
That's all good, mate. Well, thanks for coming to have a chat to us. Great performance here tonight on your P1 for the Pro-Ams. Best of luck next week out at Nürburgring, and if we don't get a chance to speak to you, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thanks, mate. Alrighty then, let's bring in our P3 finisher and his teammate in Dylan De Bono. Mr. De Bono, well, you had the pace tonight, as you normally do. You had the opportunity at the win, and unfortunately, it just slipped through your hands through one mistake. What was going through the mind when that happened there on the second to last lap?
Yeah, mate, wasn't ideal. I knew I had the pace, got the move done. Just going into that along that back straight, moved over slightly to cover the line, and still not sure what happened. I think it doesn't look like it locked up. It just might have been offline a little bit. Tires are pretty hot, and just went around. But we'll learn from that. Won't do it next time, and yeah.
Well, I sort of said on the broadcast, Dylan, that you had Kanitska right behind you, so you had to go deep. So maybe just a meter in it there, buddy, and that's sometimes all it takes.
Yeah, I think it might have been a little bit deeper, and just a combination of things. Offline, meter deeper. A little bit more pressure from behind because for the battle for the lead. But just a small mistake. Yeah, fix up for next time.
Now, as Hamish said, look, you must be pretty happy with your pace, though. P1 in race number 1, and then to bring it through the field where there's a fair bit happening around you. Did you guys do a lot of prep here for Indianapolis? I know talking to Sam before, he said he's raced it in a few of the other open wheel cars here. What about yourself?
Yeah, to be honest with you, we hit it pretty hard during the week, knowing it would be very close times. We worked a lot on just technique and how to get the most out of the new car was a big thing.
So how are you feeling? Obviously, you proved you had the pace tonight. You won the round, the course getting your P1 and then your P2. How are you feeling going into, obviously, the rest of the season? Next week, Nürburgring, tough circuit. Week after, we head over to Long Beach, another really, really tough circuit. How's that kind of playing in the mind going forward with the next couple of rounds, which could challenge some drivers and create some chaos in the field as well when you're trying to battle your way through?
Yeah, obviously it's still early days in the championship. What are we, round two now?
Yeah.
Just eyes forward for the rest of the season, making sure we finish in that top 5 region to score points for the championship. And I think later on in the year, later on the season, we'll worry about the championship.
Oh, mate, great run here tonight. You had some good pace. Obviously getting your P1 and then your P3. Sorry, not P2, P3. In the second race, you won the round. You're doing well in the F1 Shadow Series, which also ran tonight, but then also the regular season as well. Let us know who helps get you and Velocity Sim Labs out on track, and anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well.
Yeah, like you said, thanks to Velocity Sim Labs. We're putting in the effort and we're getting the results. Hikoku Power Tools, Here to Race YouTube channel, all the boys on the team. You guys are streaming, SRW for putting on the league. And don't forget to check out Velocity Sim Lab on Facebook and give it a like.
Very good, mate. Well, best of luck out at Nürburgring next week. And if for whatever reason we don't get a chance to chat to you, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, Kerry, let's drag in Mr. Daniel Byrne for P2. Driver 808 manages to sneak his way home into P2 after a mistake from the leader. And, well, you did everything you had to tonight, Daniel. You kept it clean, kept it in P3, and then when the leader made the mistake, you just managed to sneak it on through and get that P2 finish. I mean, it's got to feel good knowing that F1 Shadow round points as well as the regular season, and you've had a fairly tidy start to this season so far. Although we won't chat about Fuji, where you made a bit of a mistake in the rain, but you're going well so far in the dry.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's good. Yeah, good points so far, and just keeping it clean. Didn't have that much experience at this track, so I was just happy to kind of race within my limits, and it paid off in the end. So yeah, I mean, Dylan was pushing really hard. He was probably the quickest on track, and I had such little experience that I was actually following his lines at one point, going, oh, okay, maybe I should be doing that, So, definitely should have put in a little bit more practice. Would have had a bit more confidence. But you know what, it paid off in the end anyway. So I'm happy with the result.
I was going to say that to you. My question has been for all the drivers: how much work have you put here at Indianapolis? Sort of one of those tracks that we haven't been to before. For SRW, and I was wondering if many of the other leagues that you raced in had come here.
I've never raced here before, so I had to download the track and jump on and just kind of drive around. And I do like the track; it's got a good flow, like really good flow. But there are a couple of really tricky sections. I think the S's going through those. I think it's turn 7, 8, 9. That going through there is really tricky. You got to really get a really good exit and yeah, if you get the first part of that wrong, then you're on the wrong line and it completely stuffs your exit and stuffs your straight line speed down the straight as well. So really tricky track, but I like it. I'm a fan of it. So hopefully we race here again.
So you weren't tempted by that early safety car to maybe get off strategy because you were still following people's lines?
No, I had no strategy. I got no strategy at all. I don't know. You guys probably didn't even see, but I didn't even really know where the pit entrance was. So I went in way too hot, hit the wall coming into the pit entrance, got wheel damage, but I was lucky enough to kind of limp it back into the pits. I had my fast repair, quickly got repaired, but I reckon I don't know if it was just when I hit the wall, but I think we dropped about 3 or 4 seconds from Dylan De Bono there, so we obviously did something wrong.
Yeah, I think early on it was maybe that I know the incident in the first race that created the gap, and then there was who was involved? I can't even remember now, but
the early incident.
That moment that happened early on, and they seemed to grab 3 or 4 seconds on you guys there, and it looked like the toe was quite powerful, but once you broke the toe, it was hard to make ground.
Yeah, the toe was huge. It's if you're within 0.4, 0.5 maybe it's there, but not quite strong enough to like get you side by side. But if you're within 0.4, you're going to rocket past them by the time you get to the next corner. So the toe was massive, which made it interesting at the start. But when everyone kind of settled down, it felt a bit more like we were just doing hot laps in the end. But it's good fun anyway. The car's amazing around here, and it's it's good to race close with the guys.
That's starting to grow on you, the car?
Yeah, it's probably not quite as much fun as the old F3, but I do like it. It's different, and you can push it in different ways, and it's really satisfying when you get it right. So I'm a fan. I'm not sure if it takes the crown from the original F3 yet, but yeah, big fan of it.
We just need more wet races for that to happen.
No thanks.
Well, obviously, I mean, speaking of tracks that, these cars are fairly known to be fun to race around, Nürburgring next week, GP circuit. It's going to be a big week of racing for the F3 land. Obviously, we raced there quite a few times. Are you feeling confident at least going into that round with this car?
Yeah, that's going to be really good. It's a track built perfectly for this car, I think so. And there's plenty of places where a slipstream's going to help. So it should make for really good racing, I reckon. Looking forward to it.
Oh, mate, let us know who helps get you and Carlin's Motorsport out on track. You should know the rigmarole by now, being you've joined us enough times. But, yeah, and anyone else trying to give a shout-out to as well. And once again, congratulations on your P2 here tonight.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, just shout-outs to Carlin's Motorsport, Driver 808 on YouTube, Glam Raider, Little Rara, Eagers Automotive, and big shout-outs to the whole family as well.
Very good, Daniel. Well, thanks for joining us once again. Best of luck at Nürburgring. And if we don't get a chance to speak to you, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks a lot, guys. Speak then.
Thank you.
See ya.
Well, Cowie, our winner tonight, someone who's been on a bit of a roll lately, a podium last week, a win here tonight. It's the driver of the Pace Syndicate car, Mr. Marcus Knitska. What a run you are having in the F3s at the moment, mate. You've gone one better this week. You've got it on the top step. I mean, this is surely going to be filling you with confidence for the rest of the season.
Oh, mate, it feels really good. I'm so happy. What a race.
But are you going to put that down to pressure on De Bono there? He knew you were coming in hot when he cooked it?
Yeah, look, I'll take it. I definitely, that was definitely the goal. Like, I knew he had more pace than me, so I knew I couldn't let him get away. So I just put a little bit of pressure on, stuck my nose in on the outside there, and he made the mistake. So I think he had the pace, and he, yeah, good racing from him. Good move into turn one too. So it's all good racing, but unfortunately sometimes that happens. So yeah, happy to take the win there. Felt really good the whole race. So yeah.
Obviously,
I was going to say, sorry.
No, you're right. I was going to say just quickly. So what was going through the mind when you saw him make that rotation and you snuck on through? It's a bit of a clinch moment there, hoping that you wouldn't hit him or he hit you when you come through.
No, I think like I saw him the way that he went off. Like I don't think there was really any danger there. So I was more just like once I got through the S's and just had to sort of calm myself down again, you know. So make sure not to make a mistake on the last lap, like I've done before. So yeah, just sort of all the adrenaline's pumping, and you just sort of got to calm yourself down again.
Marcus, you're right on the pace from the word go. You know, even in qualifying, is this sort of one of those tracks you've driven a lot at? It was just putting a bit of extra practice in this week for it.
I didn't put any more practice in this week. I had a really good practice session, like in the session this evening, which I felt really good. I've done a few races here, but like not heaps. But talking to Bono and Byrne after the race, they were both saying that they were struggling. Well, I know Byrne was definitely struggling with the track. Hadn't really done any laps here before, so yeah. I mean, I like the track. It's got a nice flow for me, and yeah, I just sort of had a good practice session, and then yeah, good quali finally.
Well, it's good to see it's all finally paying off for you, Marcus. Hopefully you can continue this run into not only Nürburgring next week, but also the tough task of Long Beach the week after as well. But, you know, you've got the momentum at the moment. Hopefully maybe you can find the pace, or at least a bit more pace similar to Dylan's. I mean, you did manage to hold him off for a while there and then stay with him up to the mistake. But you're having a good run, man, and hopefully you can continue on throughout the next couple of rounds and even in towards the end of the season as well. So big congratulations on your win here tonight. Let us know who helps get you and Pace Syndicate out on track, and anyone else you're going to give a shout out to as well.
Yeah, thanks, Hamish. Look, big shout out to Worm Paints. Big shout out to Dave for coming out tonight. Hopefully he's going to be my good luck charm now, so he can't miss another round. Hopefully get a couple of the other more Pace boys out the next few weeks, which will be good. But yeah, Worm Paints and Jam Motorsport.
Very good, mate. Well, best of luck out at Nürburgring next week. And if we don't get a chance to speak to you, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, Cowie, what a way for Indianapolis to debut into the Shannon's Insurance Formula 3 Nationals. I mean...
Yeah, well, no weather, but
No
I mean, it
weather.
was still an exciting race. And, yeah, again, look, I like these tracks where we come to where it's a newer track for the drivers or the car. And what that means is, it just brings the field a bit closer together, creates those moments. We end up with a bolter or two. Look at Sam Catacasinos P6 in the pros, so there's your bolter. Tessiero was up, P10 or P11. So again, that's a pro and a pro AM bolter that, you put in that little bit of extra effort or a bit of extra practice and you can suddenly be at the front at some of these tracks, get a good setup. Although in this case, it's all fixed, so it's not that. But, you get what I mean. I love these sort of tracks when that is what's happening because that creates great action.
Well, could not have said it any better than you did there, Cowie. It was a great race here tonight. Going to be a great season ahead. Of course, 2 rounds under our belt. Now we move on to the Nürburgring for next week for round number 3 and then on to Long Beach for the week after. We appreciate everybody's time. We appreciate everybody joining us once again here for the Shannon's Insurance Formula 3 Nationals. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, the subscribe and the bell icon so you are notified anytime we go racing, including our Tuesday night Warren & Brown Tools v Supercars Series, our Wednesday night Shannon's Insurance Formula 3 Nationals, our Thursday night Shannon's Insurance GR86 Nationals, which is also a Motorsport Australia official series, the Friday night IMSA Shadow Series brought to you by Warren & Brown Tools, and rounding out our racing week, our Warren & Brown Tools V8 Supercars Super Sunday / Monday during Scops rounds, which is the perfect way you could end your week. You start it with supercars, you end it with supercars, and there's a heap of great racing in the middle. What else more could you want? Big thank you, though, goes out to all of our series sponsors, including our title sponsors, Shannon's Insurance and Warren & Brown Tools, as well as Motorsport Australia, DSL Rail Services, NeuroPower, Shunt Scenery, and Grim Industries. From myself, Hamish Munro and Andrew Cowan alongside me, we thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us here tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night when JP and Steve are back in the booth for the GR86 Nationals. But until then, stay safe, drive hard, and bye for now.
This is amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostert and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because, tell you what, Bruce Tanak, Jamie Dyke just absolutely drove away from us.